Every first snowfall of the year, we ran. It was not a festival, nor a celebration. It was survival. The date was never a mystery, announced weeks in advance, emblazoned across billboards, broadcasted on the news, scrolling ominously along the bottom of television screens in crimson lettering. The first snowfall will arrive on November 12th. The prepared marked it on their calendars. We no longer questioned it. On the eve of the snowfall, the entire town would come to a standstill. Schools dismissed students early, businesses locked their doors, and no deliveries or flights were scheduled. Traffic ceased, both in and out. It resembled preparations for an impending storm, but the weather itself was never the true concern. It was what arrived with it. Each family had their own methods of preparation. Some packed lightly, carrying only what was necessary to keep moving. Others meticulously mapped out faster routes, avoiding congested streets and back alleys that could spell disaster. Shoes were inspected, laces secured, soles checked for wear, because a misstep could mean the difference between life and disappearance. There was no grand ceremony, no speeches, no sirens to signal the beginning. Only an unspoken understanding. We waited, and when the first snowflake fell, we ran. I still feel it. The burn in my legs, the biting chill against my skin, the rhythmic pounding of countless feet against pavement. 1,000 bodies moving in perfect unison, breathless, desperate. There was no chaos, no shoving, no trampling. We moved like a singular force, a flood cascading through the streets. Greed, malice, selfishness, these had no place here. We all shared the same singular goal, because to stop meant to be lost. My first memory of the run is blurred by time, but some things never fade. The cold, the fear, my mother's hand clutching mine with a grip like iron. I was 5 years old, too young to understand, but old enough to know not to ask. We remained indoors until the first flake touched the ground. The instant it did, my mother wrenched open the door and pulled me into the throng of bodies. It was nothing like the playful running of childhood games. There was no laughter, no pause to catch one's breath. You either moved, or you were left behind. I remember stumbling, tripping over my own feet, my mother yanking me forward with such force I thought my arm might dislocate. She never yelled, never scolded, only squeezed my hand tighter and kept running. Behind us, someone screamed. I did not look back. No one ever did. By the time I was old enough to ask why, I already knew the answer. What happens if you don't run? No one ever answered. They didn't need to. Every child knew the stories. Our town had no Krampus, no boogeymen lurking under beds, no ghost stories whispered to keep children from wandering too far. We had the wolf walkers, and their stories were not meant to frighten. They were meant to ensure survival, because those who were caught never returned. I know this for certain, for my father was one of them. I barely remember him. Just the stench of whiskey on his breath, the heavy, uneven thud of his boots as he staggered through our home. He was drunk the night the snow came. My mother tried to rouse him, to force him to move, but he would not listen. He was too slow, and we had to run. I can still hear his voice calling after us, slurring my mother's name. His cries grew fainter, swallowed by the wind and the relentless stampede of footsteps. My mother never turned back, and we never saw him again. By the time I turned 9, the run was as routine as the changing of the seasons. I no longer stumbled, no longer begged my mother to slow down. I had learned the rhythm, the pace that allowed one to breathe just enough to keep moving, but never enough to grow comfortable. Comfort was dangerous. We understood that better than anything. That year, the first snow came late. The cold had settled deep into the bones of the town. When the flurries finally arrived, it was like a hell breath finally exhaled. But that night, I felt something I had never experienced before. Curiosity. We were told never to look back. But that night, I did. At first, I thought they were men, figures moving between the snowflakes, blurred and indistinct. They wore thick furred coats, their faces obscured by wolf masks. But as I stared, I saw the truth. Their arms were grotesquely elongated, skin peeling to reveal raw, darkened muscle. Their hands dragged at their sides, fingers twitching. Their legs, bony, discolored, bent at unnatural angles, moved with an eerie, shuddering gait. Their heads were fully wolf-like, yet disturbingly wrong. Snouts cracked and split where they should not be, mouths filled with rows of mismatched teeth that jutted at impossible angles. And their eyes, Some were absent, leaving gaping sockets that leaked black ichor. Others were too white, too wide, glowing with an unnatural light. They did not run, not in the way we did. They did not chase. They merely moved. They drifted through the snowfall, indistinct and insubstantial, their bodies phasing through the snow rather than traversing it. I must have gasped, made some sound of horror, because one of them turned its gaze upon me. Its snout split further, revealing something writhing inside its throat, pulsing, shifting, struggling to hold its form. I turned away. I never looked back again. Years passed. The snowfalls came and went, predicted with precision, counted down like clockwork. But this year was different. This year, my mother would not run with me. She lay bedridden, her body wasted by sickness. The once strong woman who had carried me through the streets now unable to lift her own hand. Even as the date approached, she pleaded with me to go. "You can't save me," she whispered. "Run, please." But I could not. Not after all she had done for me. The first flake fell at 5:46 p.m. The city erupted. I lifted my mother into my arms and ran. But I was slower, weaker. The weight of her frail body in my arms drained my strength. The runners vanished ahead, their footsteps lost in the white abyss. And behind me, I heard them. The air thickened, freezing. The sound, low, smooth, nearly soothing, like something gliding over ice. Then the first scream. "They're here," my mother whispered. We stumbled into an old shed, a forgotten relic of wood and decay. I collapsed against the wall, cradling her, trembling. The whispers began. "You should have run," one of them crooned, my father's voice. The door creaked. Then my mother smiled. A warm, peaceful smile. She stood, and she screamed. It was the last thing I saw of her. A silhouette in the doorway, small, frail, but standing. The next morning, the storm had passed. The town was silent. There were no footprints, no bodies, as if she had never existed at all. I ran every year after that, until now. Now I am old, my body frail. The announcement came last week, November 23rd. The first snowfall is coming, but I will not run. I lay in bed, waiting. The world will move on without me. A shadow passes across my window, and a warmth settles over me, a presence I have not felt in decades. I close my eyes. I smile, and I say nothing. The room is quiet now. The wind outside whispers against the glass, but I do not hear the frantic footsteps of the runners. I do not hear the desperate cries of those who fall behind. For the first time in my life, I am not among them. The weight in my chest is different tonight. Not the heavy pressure of exhaustion after a run, nor the ache of loss I have carried for so long. This weight is gentle, settling over me like a blanket pulled snug over tired shoulders. I do not fight it. The shadow outside my window lingers, shifting, patient, not demanding, not threatening, just waiting. I turn my head slightly, my body sluggish, slow, my limbs unwilling to respond as quickly as they once did. The glass reflects my hollow eyes, the deep lines of my face, the time that has worn me down. But it also reflects something else. A second shape. I blink. The figure is faint, blurred at the edges as if the world itself struggles to hold on to its presence. But I know it is her, my mother. She stands beside my bed, just as I remember her, strong, upright, her expression neither sad nor joyous, only calm, understanding. She does not speak, but she does not need to. I feel the warmth of her hand brush against my own. It is enough. Outside, the air shifts again. The temperature drops. The whispering wind takes on new voices, dozens, maybe hundreds, murmuring through the night, moving through the streets as they always have. But I am no longer afraid. I close my eyes, exhaling slowly. The weight in my chest eases, the last tension slipping from my body. I do not know what waits beyond this night. But as the first snowflake drifts past my window, I understand. I will not be running anymore. The snow falls in thick, silent drifts, blanketing the world outside in a pristine white. It muffles the sounds of the city, dimming the distant echoes of footsteps, of hurried breaths, of doors slamming shut. I remain still, my breathing slow, steady. My body, once restless at this hour, accustomed to the adrenaline of flight, is now quiet. The shadow outside my window moves again. Not closer, not farther. Just waiting. A memory stirs, a faint recollection buried deep beneath decades of cold nights and desperate sprints. A time before I knew fear, before I understood the weight of survival. I was young, no older than 4, and I remember the first time I saw the snow. I had not yet known it as something to flee from. That year, my mother had let me stand by the window, watching in awe as the first flakes drifted from the sky. My small fingers had pressed against the glass, tracing their delicate patterns. "It's beautiful," I had whispered. She had only looked at me, something unreadable in her eyes. Now, after all these years, I find myself looking at it the same way again. Not with dread, nor urgency, just quiet acceptance. The presence beside my bed does not waver. It does not reach for me, does not beckon, only stands in patient vigil. My mother had always been patient. I shift slightly beneath my blankets, my body feeling light, weightless in a way I have not felt in years. The aches that have plagued me, the stiffness in my joints, the deep exhaustion settled in my bones, it all feels distant now. Fading. I realize, with startling clarity, that I am not afraid. For the first time in my life, I am not afraid. A breath escapes my lips, slow, measured. My eyelids grow heavier. The snow outside the window swirls, catching the light in soft, glowing embers. The whispers in the wind change. No longer the voices of the lost, nor the taunting murmurs of those who follow behind. They are softer now, familiar. They are calling me home. I close my eyes, and I let go.